Have you ever thought about how a collection of songs could tell one single epic story? Well, that's exactly what we're looking at today. We're diving into 15 really special psalms that, when you read them all together, map out this powerful journey from distress all the way to deliverance. And believe me, that journey starts with a question we've all asked ourselves.
So let me just ask you this straight up. When life gets tough, when you feel totally surrounded by problems, what's your first instinct? Where do you turn? This very question is the engine that drives this whole collection of psalms we're about to walk through.
All right, so these 15 psalms, running from Psalm 120 all the way to 134, they all share this unique title. And that title is our first big clue about what's going on. They're all called Songs of Ascents.
So what does that mean, Songs of Ascents? Well, the most common idea is that these were basically travel songs. Just imagine ancient Israelites making that long uphill journey to Jerusalem for huge festivals like Passover. These were the hymns they sang on the road, kind of like a soundtrack for their pilgrimage.
Now, what's really interesting here is that the word ascent has all these different layers of meaning. For some, it's about that historic return from exile in Babylon, a literal going up to their homeland. For others, it's much more specific, like the Levites physically walking up the temple steps to lead worship. And it could even be a musical direction, telling the singers to perform in a higher, rising key. Each one of these ideas just adds another dimension to this journey.
So, where does this epic journey begin? Not in a happy place, at all. Psalm 120 drops us right into a world of conflict and lies. The traveler feels totally isolated, stuck living among people who talk about peace but are actually ready for war. It's a cry for rescue from a really toxic environment.
And from that really tough spot, the traveler does something absolutely crucial. They look up. They start searching for a way out, for a source of help that's way bigger than their problems.
And this leads us to one of the most famous lines in all of the Psalms. Just picture it, the traveler surrounded by hardship, lifting their gaze toward the distant hills where Jerusalem sits. It's a question born out of desperation, but it's also filled with this little glimmer of hope. Where is my rescue actually going to come from?
And boom, the answer comes back crystal clear and powerful. The help isn't in the mountains themselves, but from the one who made the mountains. This right here is the anchor for the entire journey. It's this huge declaration of trusting God as the ultimate source of protection and deliverance.
And this slide just perfectly illustrates what's at stake. Psalm 124 kind of plays a what-if game. It says, if the Lord hadn't been on our side, and then paints this terrifying picture of being swallowed alive, completely swept away by a flood. But then, it flips the script. Our soul has escaped like a bird. I mean, look at that contrast. It's the difference between total destruction and absolute freedom. But look, don't get the wrong idea. This is not some simple, easy-peasy path. The Songs of Ascents are brutally honest about the pain and the grit required. Help is promised, yeah, but the hardship is very, very real.
Psalm 129 takes this long, hard look back at Israel's entire history, thinking about generations of oppression. We're talking about slavery in Egypt, being dominated by Assyria, and that long, painful exile in Babylon. This isn't just one person having a bad day. This is a deep, collective memory of suffering. And yet, right after listing all that hardship, we get this incredible, defined statement. Despite centuries of oppression, the core of who they are was never crushed. It's a powerful testament to an enduring faith, even when facing overwhelming odds.
This is one of the central promises of the whole journey. Psalm 126 gives us this beautiful metaphor from farming. The act of planting, of sowing, is hard, sorrowful work, kind of like the years of exile. But the harvest, the reaping, is a time of incredible joy, like finally returning home. The tears you cry on the journey are the very seeds of your future celebration.
Okay, so what is this destination they've been traveling toward all this time? As the pilgrims get closer, their songs start to change, and they focus on the city of Jerusalem, the symbolic heart of their faith and their community.
And when they finally get there, what do they find? Jerusalem is painted as this ideal city, the answer to all the chaos they left behind. Psalm 122 describes it as a place of perfect, compact unity, where scattered people come together for praise and just judgment. Then Psalm 133 talks about it being a community just overflowing with brotherly unity. And by Psalm 134, the praise never stops. It just keeps going, day and night. For the weary traveler, this isn't just a place, it's the embodiment of peace, order, and, finally, belonging.
But here's the thing. As we get to the end of these songs, you start to realize something. The journey isn't just about getting to a physical city on a map. It's about arriving at the heart of a divine and unending promise.
And this is where it all comes together, really, in Psalm 132. It calls back to God's foundational promise to King David, that his royal line would last forever. So the pilgrimage to Jerusalem becomes a pilgrimage back to this core promise, a powerful reminder that God has a long-term plan in motion.
So according to the Christian theological reading of these Psalms, this journey and this promise, they don't just end with the historical kings of Israel. They point forward to a messianic figure, Jesus, who, as a descendant of David, is seen as the ultimate fulfillment of this promise of an eternal king and an eternal kingdom.
And just like that, these ancient songs about a physical journey, they become a map for a spiritual one. They start with a cry for help in a world full of trouble and end with trust in an eternal promise. Which brings us right back to where we started, but with a whole new depth. As your own journey continues through its mountains and its valleys, who or what are you going to trust to be your help?